Well, good afternoon. I'm Councillor Judy Villeneuve, and I'm the acting mayor this afternoon. So I'm going to call the Council-in-Committee agenda together. And we have two delegations. And the first one is David Gaskin, who's the YMCA board member and the YMCA from Greater Vancouver. So if you'd like to come forward and present your delegation, welcome.
Thank you very much. So good evening, Chair Villeneuve and members of the committee. So my name is David Gaskin. I'm a resident of Surrey. I work in the city as the Chief Financial Officer of Coast Capital Savings. And in my role here this afternoon, I'm a proud member of the YMCA of Greater Vancouver's Board of Directors. I'm here to speak in support of the agreement of principle before you regarding the development of a new YMCA in Surrey City Centre. With me tonight is our CEO, Stephen Butts, who joins me to respond to any questions you may have. The three-year process that has led to the development of this agreement in principle is an important milestone to recognize and celebrate. On behalf of the YMCA board, I'm here to convey our support of this project, the partnership with the city which enables it, and most important, our YMCA's enduring commitment to Surrey in support of children, youth, and families throughout our community. I was interested to learn that the first presence of a YMCA in Surrey started right here in Whalley. It was 1967, and the Y had just opened a storefront program to support youth employment training. So now, some 49 years later, I don't think leaders within the city nor the Y could foresee the impact of our work. Today there are over 100 YMCA program locations throughout the city, serving some 44,000 people. That work takes the form of childcare, youth leadership programs, support for new Canadians, camping and outdoor education, and a growing range of programs to help address the issues associated with chronic disease. The significant driver to this impact can be traced back to 1998, when leaders from both the city and the Y began to explore the potential of a new YMCA facility. A few years later, the product of that effort, the Tung Louie YMCA over on Highway 10, continues to be a vibrant hub for children and families in Surrey and one of the leading YMCA family centres in North America. Back then, the city and the Y demonstrated the vision and mutual respect required to achieve something together which could not have been possible apart. It's that same spirit of collaboration and desire to build needed social infrastructure which underpins the City Centre project and this agreement in principle. The new YMCA will be an important tool in response to the growing needs of a community in transition. While the programs and services provided by the Y will take many different forms, our universal focus is on prevention, to find ways to counteract that which gets in the way of people achieving their full potential. That commitment drives three important priorities in all we do. The first, helping children and families thrive by prioritizing programs focused on physical literacy, parental support, and school readiness. The second, promote healthy living by addressing the growing range of health issues. And the third one, fostering belonging and connection in the effort to overcome the social challenges associated with isolation, disconnection, and loneliness. This effort takes the contribution of many, and the Y takes great pride in the relationships we have made with many other Surrey-based organizations, working on these and many other important priorities. With this new YMCA project, we fully expect these relationships will deepen and grow. Approval of this agreement in principle by Council and the YMCA board moves this project from concept to implementation. More immediately, this includes site confirmation and the community engagement process, leading to the launch of a capital campaign. And while there is much heavy lifting to come for both the city and the Y, I don't want this moment to pass without extending our appreciation to your city manager, manager of Parks, Recreation and Culture, and teams within your planning department who have been instrumental in advancing the development process to this stage. It's clear to us this council and your staff team is committed to making Surrey a vibrant city where people choose to live, learn, work, and play. City Centre is evolving as a dynamic regional centre, which over the next decade will experience a remarkable transformation. for all the right reasons at exactly the right place and right time for a new YMCA Centre of Community. This agreement in principle again reminds us what can get done together when we put community first. As a resident of Surrey, a YMCA volunteer, a board member and donor, I'm inspired by the potential of this partnership, the values we share and the opportunity to apply that good to the benefit of a generation of kids and families in Surrey. Thank you, and Steve and I are pleased to respond to any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, David, and we are very happy with our partnership with the YMCA and the city to date, and looking forward to another one. Council members have any questions? No, I think you're good to go then. Oh, Mayor Hepner.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And just to reiterate Councillor Villeneuve's comments, we've had a very strong partnership with the YMCA over the time that the current one has been in process. In fact, I was on that capital campaign, so I can tell you that the city has been very, very strong supporter of the work that the Y does in helping us create the kind of communities that we're striving to. And I know our park staff, through Councillor Haynes' direction, works very closely with the existing Y, and I know that a new YMCA in our really fast-growing area of the city, in the city core, it's going to be an important second step, and I think it's great that you're at the table as a strong partner again. So I'm excited about it, and equally as enthused as you are relative to its possibilities. So thank you for your presentation.
Thanks very much for your comments.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Our second presenter is Elizabeth Modell, who's the CEO of the Downtown Surrey BIA. Elizabeth? She's appearing before Council to discuss the potential location of another homeless shelter in downtown Surrey.
Yes, good evening, Your Worship, Acting Mayor and members of Council. My name's Bob Dominic. I'm the current chair of the Downtown Surrey BIA. We are here this evening with the unanimous consent of the board of the Downtown Surrey BIA, and I just want to point out that we're not against homelessness at all, or we're not against the needy. I think the BIA has a long-standing track record of being very supportive of all the services that go along with that. That said, we do have a duty to the 1,500 businesses that we represent in Surrey City Centre. In June this year, CKNW did a full-day presentation on 135A Street, and it was very interesting to note that one of the interviews, a chap said, "Where else would we be? All the services are here." And that's one of the reasons that we're here today. For over 10 years now, the BIA has expressed concern about what's happening on 135A Street, and with this new proposed shelter, we're very concerned about the expansion of 135A further into the downtown city core. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth, who has a PowerPoint presentation for you.
Thank you much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will start the PowerPoint presentation. I haven't been given notes on this, but hopefully I get this right. So Bob's just covered off this slide here. And this is just a couple of snapshots that we've taken a couple of days ago. And you can see words don't do it justice. So what we've done is we've actually separated out all the services that are on the strip, as we call it, the long lineups for food services, but there are also pop-up services as well. And we've also put those on the map in the BIA area, and you'll see this throughout. The BIA is the purple zone, and the area that is designated for the Business Improvement District. The next one is health services. These, again, do not include the care bus or the pop-up services. And that's what it looks like on the map. Give you a minute to look at it. The next one is social services. And that's what it looks like on the map. The next one is pharmacies. Now, this attention has been brought to the city some time ago as small-scale pharmacies dispensing methadone. About 7-8 years ago, a bylaw was passed. It was brought to the attention by the BIA to the city to not allow new small-scale pharmacies within 400 meters of each other's. And then currently the map shows all the pharmacies dispensing methadone in the BIA area. The next one is pawn shops and check cashing. Although they're businesses in our area, studies have indicated they attract the negative activity to an area, and we want to showcase that on the map as well. The housing. This is a number of transitional supportive housing. They do not include the non-licensed recovery homes or housing projects that do not publish their addresses in order to protect the residents' safety. The next one is the shelters. As you currently know, the 3 shelters currently serving in our BIA area, the Gateway, the Boulevard Shelter, which was initially sent up only as a temporary winter shelter, but still obviously operational, and the Extreme Weather Shelter at Surrey Urban Mission on King George, and currently they're open every single night to deal with the extra need resulting from the lack of shelter beds. And that is an overview of the proliferation of the services in our area. And so street people attracted to the area to use the services and to be with street people of the same nature, resulting in garbage, carts of junk, human excrement, and large amounts of needles. Businesses contact our offices daily with complaints of loiterers, panhandlers, petty theft, and requesting our bike patrol to clean up the garbage and the needles. Businesses are running their own businesses. They ask us why the city and the BIA are not doing more about the constant issues that are facing them. Adding another shelter would be yet another burden on the struggling businesses. The seniors using the Legion and the Chuck Bailey Rec Centre, the youth at the covered skate park, and the children's programs at both the recreational services and centre and the local church programming, as well as the mosques nearby. Permanent solutions are required, and temporary shelters have become the new norm and have been transitioned into year-round facilities, but what's really required is long-term, supportive, and transitional housing. The importance of small business to the economic viability and prosperity of our downtown and the city is vital. But business have the ability to actually run their business and work in their business, which provides a tax and revenue and jobs for our citizens, which is extremely difficult, I'm sure you can understand, in this type of environment. So the conclusion is the more services that are added increases the attractiveness to a very specific population. We're trying to build city centre that is inclusive, integrative, and adaptive to all citizens. Given we all have the same goal for the future of Surrey, there is no clear rationale why the city has chosen yet this location for another shelter. We don't want to produce and reproduce the downtown east side here. Therefore, the BIA does not support the 135 proposed location A. And finally, we have always valued as the Business Improvement Association and respected the collaborative leadership that Mayor, Council, and the City staff has shown the business community. We recognize your role in setting the template and the framework for businesses to grow and prosper. Together, we're building a city centre, and we ask you to consider that in your decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from Council? Councillor Hain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Elizabeth, thank you very much for coming out and for bringing many of your board members with you. And I know that you are incredibly passionate about the city centre and about the success of city centre. There's no question that homelessness is a growing issue in our community, as it is right across the region. And regionally, provincially, and in fact nationally, I think we absolutely owe it to our society to be coming up with permanent solutions. But having said that, we need to work collaboratively and even more collaboratively with the BIA, with the city, to be lobbying senior levels of government for the funding that we need for permanent solutions. And I agree with you from just my singular own perspective, that another shelter on that strip is from my perspective, not the right location. But we do have to find a location that works for the city, that works for the community, and it's an arduous task. And I know our realty division and yourselves and everybody have looked and looked and looked, and it's a very difficult task to try and achieve that. But I know that we did find a site, for instance, that's located down near the hospital precinct, just near the Jim Pattison Centre, that we zoned quite recently for a shelter, and then we're going ahead as quickly as we can with making that a reality and trying to relieve some of the pressure in the Five Corners area, the 135A Street area. So we want to work with you. I want to work with you, and I think we can find solutions if we work collaboratively. So thank you very much for your passion, and absolutely hear the issues and hear your concerns. So thank you.
Councillor LeFranc.
Madam Chair. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I know how, as Councillor Haynes said, how passionate you are about the community, and I really feel deep empathy for the business owners. Myself and many of the councillors here at the table tonight, we've all been down there on a weekly basis just to see and check in on how things are going, and it is quite disturbing to see the trend, the upward ticking, and I hear from folks at the Legion and folks at the churches and etc. Because of the tents that are popping up. I know that staff have been doing their best to make sure that they're on top of the situation, but it feels like we're not there yet. And I agree with you that we need to make sure that we're providing permanent solutions. This council has been leaders across the province in not building a shelter system that doesn't meet the needs of the community, and the community includes the business community. They're very important to us. I do want to also say that we have been looking for those permanent solutions. We have been helping our organizations to lobby to federal and provincial government for more funding for transitional supportive housing. We are working on the Cloverdale shelter to expand those beds. We have also identified the land for the homeless shelter, which I think will go a long ways towards dealing with the issue. The other thing that we're asking and desperately pleading with the Fraser Health to address some of the addictions and mental health issues that are happening. It's just tragic what's happening on 135A. And we do need the whole of the community to pitch in. And so I just wanted to say that we're going to work with you any way we can. Our staff has been incredibly diligent trying to find solutions, as I know they've been working with you. And so hopefully over the next while we can figure out what we can do about this situation. And just regarding the location, and perhaps it's not the best location, it might be the only location, given the fact that we can't find another location. It was so difficult to find the winter shelter. But I do know that the winter shelter seems to be working really well. We need more of those solutions so that we can move people into permanent, sustainable housing. So I really appreciate, and your board, I really appreciate you bringing this again to the City Council's attention and drawing the community's attention to this. And really extend my deep appreciation for the patience of the business owners in the Whalley area, and really, we're doing our best. We're working on it with our most true diligence. So thank you.
Thank you. And Mayor Hepner.
Thank you. And thank you, Elizabeth, for your presentation today. It's always a delight to hear from you and for the progressive work that the Downtown Surrey BIA is doing in collaboration with the city and really changing this center of the city into the regional core and the second largest city, soon to be the largest in British Columbia. So with that comes the problems that we're seeing on the ground. And it's interesting that the very day that you've come here, we also met with our MPs to talk to them about the need for housing and a national housing strategy and the opportunities for making sure that we have those that are hard to house, the funding available to make those realities happen. I'm interested in your comments around the one shelter that we did last year that was to be the winter shelter that is now a year-round shelter. Because when we started last year, there was a lot of concern that that was going to be a big problem, and it turned out, as I understand it, to be a well-run shelter that was actually helped the business community. Do you see that in the longer term as now a full-time shelter as being an advantage or not?
Well, that's a bigger question for the board, but quite honestly, Mayor Hepner, that was supposed to be just a winter shelter, and I think the businesses were willing to do that for the 6 months that it was designated to that area. However, having been permanent, long-term, it's not how you build a city. A city has to have proper supportive housing that has everything inclusive in it, right from the ground up, from the services, from the medical help, and into proper housing. Very similar to the template, exactly the same as a Phoenix Center. That's what we're looking for long-term. That's what we need. That's what we require. That's what the businesses want.
That's good to hear, because that's what we're pushing for as well. So thanks for your presentation today. We certainly are all on the same page.
And Councillor Woods.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm very much have to deal with reality. So I assume you have been following the court case and the developments over in Victoria?
We are aware of it, yes.
Okay. So if we are unable to provide beds, then the courts have basically said tent cities can exist.
Well, that would be something for your solicitors to talk about, but Victoria did have that overturned, and currently there are tents out there.
Okay. I won't argue on the legality of it. My understanding it was overturned because they are going to provide the beds. So my question to you, just I'd like to know this, tent city or 135A?
It's not an either-or. Both have to be cleaned up.
Pardon me?
I said it's not an either-or. Both have to be cleaned up.
Both have to be cleaned up, so you don't support either?
That is correct. Businesses are really struggling. There are many businesses who said to the BIA that they really are thinking serious of leaving Surrey and closing their doors because they don't have they cannot operate under the circumstances. So it has to be a different model. You have to go back to the drawing board on it.
That may be different dynamics that can enter into the court. I'm finished. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Only one suggestion I would have is the city does not have the funds or the ability to tax for housing funds. It actually lies in the hands of the province and the federal government. So one suggestion I would give for you is to really talk to your MP and your MLAs about the fact that this city and this council wants supportive housing. We're doing everything we can to advocate for that, but I think they really need to hear from people that are living the everyday experience, the BIA, for example, because they too are dependent upon business in the province, and really they're responsible for providing the funds to this city for that kind of housing. And we'd love to have your advocacy as well. And really appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'll call for an adjournment.
Move adjournment.